Yeah, you're live.
Okay, let's start. Good evening, Dr. Subramaniam Swamiji, members of Think India, Executive Board of the committees, delegates, and viewers who have joined us today. I, Rupal Kalebere, welcome you on behalf of Think India to, to the valedictory ceremony of Think India's first E-Model United Nations. To start off the ceremony, I would like to call upon Shivam Raghuvanshi ji, National Co-Convener of Think India and a fifth-year law student of Rajiv Gandhi National Law University, to say a few words about the MUN. Shivam ji, the floor is yours. Shivam ji, are you here with us? It seems like Shivam ji isn't here with us at this moment. I'd like to go ahead to talk about a few words about the MUN. So, Think India had conducted its first Model United Nations, which just ended a few minutes back, and it was for 2 days. We had 4 committees, which we will be coming to soon, and we were deliberating upon topics that were of national and international importance for 2 days, and we've come to some resolutions which will be discussed in the report that we are going to go ahead with. Of course, we couldn't do this without the organization. We couldn't do the MUN without the organization of our national team. Ganesh Turerao ji, who is the national in charge of Think India, Pratik Sutar ji, our national convener, Aditya Kashyap ji, national co-convener of Think India, and Shivam ji, also our national co-convener of Think India. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel said, "Faith is of no avail in absence of strength. Faith and strength both are essential to accomplish any great work." I would like to now call upon Mansi and Runmay Chitre to read the 2-day report of this MUN. Mansi and Runmay, are you guys here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm
Mansi, we
also
can.
here.
So Mrunmay can go ahead first.
Yes. Adharniya Dr. Subramaniam Swamiji, team members of Think India, delegates, and everyone who has joined us today. After extensive deliberations on various issues, we are glad to present the report of the committee. The United Nations Security Council deliberated on dismissing China as the permanent member of the UNSC in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Ms. Preeti Upala, former Miss India and a political analyst, was the honorary chair of the committee. The executive board of UNSC comprised of Chair Razol Purewal and Vice Chair Shivansh Banglia. 2 draft resolutions were prepared by the United Nations Security Council. The draft resolution, sponsored by Indonesia and United States of America, was successfully passed. The draft resolution authorized UNSC to refer the question of law on the interpretation of UN Charter to the International Court of Justice, called for amendment to restructure the Security Council, affirmed the commitment of members to bring reform in the veto power, and establish an ad hoc committee under the Security Council to establish recommendations for the reform of veto. Now, I would like to present the report of the War Cabinet. The War Cabinet was a continuous crisis committee. We were honored to have Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha ji as the honorary chair for the committee. The executive board comprised of Chair Pradyumn Malpani and advisor Advocate Drishti Rawal. The main issue of concern was rising unrest in Balochistan. Amidst rising tensions, Brahmagda Bukti, the Baloch leader of Balochistan Republican Party, was given political asylum by India. The committee managed to solve various crisis situations like retaliations along the Indo-Pak and Indo-China border, airstrikes, and cyber attacks. Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha ji enlightened the students on the real Balochistan issue as well. The committee session was successfully concluded with a press release that declared Balochistan as an independent state. Now, I would request Mansi Desai to present the report of UNHRC and Lok Sabha.
Thank you, Mrinmay. So, for the UNHRC, the agenda was human rights violations in Tibet and the right to statehood. Our honorary chair for UNHRC was Ms. Priyanka Dev, who is a distinguished journalist and who has a lot of strong opinions on various political issues. The chair for UNHRC was Anirudh Bharadwaj, and the vice chair was Harinur Jham. The deliberations majorly concerned regarding the various human rights violations that have been taking place in Tibet since the past several years. And the deliberations also briefly focused on the sovereignty aspect and the right to statehood as claimed by Tibet. And on the day two, the deliberations were mostly solution oriented, wherein the delegates proposed gave several resolutions to resolve this issue. And while the draft resolution 1 was not passed, the draft resolution 2 was passed. And coming to Lok Sabha, while the actual proceedings of Lok Sabha are very different, we try to keep these proceedings as similar to the actual ones as possible, considering that they were online. And our honorary chair for Lok Sabha was Shri Rahul Chaudhary, who is the national media convener of ABVP. And the speaker for Lok Sabha was Akshat Trivedi, and deputy speaker was Yamika Khanna. And the agenda for Lok Sabha was population control bill, and the discussions also pertained to the rising population problem of India, and they concerned regarding the various social, economic, political, and legal aspects as to the problem of rising population. And finally, after a lot of debate and discussion and a proposal of various amendments, finally the draft was passed by the Lok Sabha. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mansi. And now? Yeah. Okay. Yes. So now to the star of our ceremony, Dr. Subramaniam Swami ji. Sir is a Rajya Sabha MP, former cabinet minister, Harvard PhD in economics, and also is a professor and BJP national executive member. Sir, it is indeed an honor to have you here with us, and the floor is yours to speak on the topic. Thank you.
The topic I was given was what is wrong with China? Is that correct? That is what I was given. Okay, I'll speak about China. China and India have been neighbors for thousands of years, at least 2,000, most probably close to 2,800 years. And the relationship between India and China was never hostile. There was never a single battle till 1962. India was the giver and China was the taker, at least till about 1200 AD, when Muhammad Ghori defeated Prithviraj Chavan and crowned himself as the Badshah of India in 1192 in Delhi Red Fort. So, I mean the Delhi area, which is now in the Red Fort. So, therefore, India began to decline as an economic power after that, and slowly started coming down in GDP, per capita income, and things like that. And by comparison, China started to go ahead, and by 1730, China was ahead of India, and remained so till the British came, and that made the gap even wider. But in China, there was no foreign control. There were foreign presence who extracted money from the king of what was the emperor of China. And and they sold goods from India like opium and things like that. And basically, the resources, unlike in India, where the British took out the resources from India, they didn't take the resources out of India, except they sold whatever they wanted to sell. Now, why I'm giving you this background is that India and China had first a relationship where we were the teachers. And in 1936, a very famous scholar of China called Dr. Hu Shi, who was the president of Beijing University, or Peking University it's called, who was invited by Harvard University in 1936 to speak on a topic of his interest for China. And you'll be surprised, and you can get this in Google if you type HU, who, SHIH, Shi. The topic is the Indianization of China, a case of peaceful borrowing. What happened is that Buddhism, which originally was a very strict Buddhism, but then when Mahayana Buddhism came, it was almost like Hinduism. And that went across to China. And we had monks who went to China. Bodhidharma went from Kanchipuram in Tamil Nadu, and he set up an ashram in Shaolin, and he taught them what was called Wushu, which translated in Japanese meant karate, and that is now come back to India. We Indians are saying, I'm learning karate. Actually, karate was invented in India. So we have forgotten our relationship, what it was. After 1950, the Chinese government was taken over by the communists, and India had become free in 1947. And Jawaharlal Nehru began, by then Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated by 1950, Sardar Patel had died, and so Jawaharlal Nehru became a de facto dictator of India. And he started announcing policies without regard to party and parliament and so on. And one of the policies he announced is, we shall befriend China, and we will treat them as brothers and sisters. So Hindi Chini Bye Bye was a slogan that was utilized. During this period, China had been destroyed by Japanese war in World War II, and they was in a very bad shape. But because they became communist, the Soviet Union, which was now only the small part now survives, which is called Russia, they gave a lot of assistance, and China began to develop economically. And during the 1950s, they never let know their real true intention towards India. And Jawaharlal Nehru thought that India and China, like in the history, will be friends and we will dominate the world. But he was wrong, because China was just recovering and then plotting. First thing they wanted to do is take over Tibet. And Jawaharlal Nehru agreed that Tibet is a part of China. So today you may have a resolution saying Tibet should be liberated and all that, but it is we who said Tibet is part of China. And China gobbled it up. When NDA of Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government came in 1999, in 2003, Vajpayee went to Beijing and he also signed a treaty that Tibet is part of China. So when today many people say we should recognize Tibet, you first please note that you will have to scrap these two treaties. And then which one by Jawaharlal Nehru, one by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So therefore my plea to all Indians is, let us concentrate on recovering our proper territory, which China has swallowed in Aksai Chin, in Arunachal. So let's solve this problem instead of thinking of the bigger problem, whether Taiwan should be independent, Tibet should be independent, how we should deal with China's relations with Japan, or China's relations XYZ, so on. I think the main problem is today China feels threatened by India's economic growth in the last 20 years. After Narasimha Rao became Prime Minister, our growth rate started expanding. 8-9% was not difficult for us. China's growth rate was very high in 1980s and 1990s, but in 2000 onwards, growth rate started slowing down to 6%. And so we began to overtake China. And there was a feeling that India is also a big population. In fact, our population is growing faster than China's because China has very got strict family planning rules. So our population may overtake China in size of population in China by 2025. But GDP is also closing the gap. So today China has decided that we shall somehow again do a 1962 and humiliate India. And therefore they are now laying claims to Aksai Chin is already with them as a disputed territory. But Ladakh is with us. So now they have come across the line which was decided in 1993 called the Line of Actual Control, LAC. And they have crossed it and have occupied territory in India. Some newspapers say thousands per kilometers. And, we haven't got an official statement yet. So what is China up to? It is trying to show all our neighborhood that India is no match for China. So you better be with us. In that, Nepal is already capitulated. Pakistan is already with China. Sri Lanka has stood alone and said, no, we are with India. India is our first preference. It is our closest neighbor. And then other countries will come. But Bangladesh is also... So India's problem with China and what is wrong with China is slowly capturing the attention of all our neighbors. And we are getting isolated in our own area. So what should we do? We should therefore, what we have to do is first of all, improve our economy. I'm sorry to say, because we have followed wrong policies, and even though I'm in BJP, I have to say it because I'm also a professor of economics. I can't be disloyal to my subject. That since 2015, in our desire to create supplies, to increase our capacity of supply, we forgot that there is another part to economics that is called demand. So unless we put money into the hands of the people to go and buy, what is the use of creating supply? We found now in more automobile showrooms, cars are lying unpurchased. Their excess capacity, many industries are closing down because of excess capacity. So therefore, this is why from 2015 our economy started going down. And some of the measures was not properly analyzed and then implemented. For instance, demonetization and then GST. These have also created problems. So today, after Corona came, the world's largest fall in GDP is India's, of 29.4% minus, and may continue next year also. So therefore, economically today, we are fallen behind China in a big way. And so we have to deal with it. Coronavirus definitely came from China. But let me tell you also that Tata Institute of Fundamental Research also participated in that research, along with the US Army. So it's no use saying this is China created, because we were also part of the research team. It is a terrible thing that has happened. We cannot take measures like China, which were very brutal, and therefore China has more or less solved its coronavirus problem. We are a democratic country, so America is a democratic country. America has a huge number of cases, plus in millions of people dying. India is approaching that level now quite rapidly. So the lack of imposing, we cannot impose military discipline. Therefore, we have to go by pleading with people and so on. So you see a situation where you are like that. China is definitely interested in taking the entire Ladakh area as part of China. China is interested in taking Arunachal also completely. They say that, no, in the old days, Tibet owned Arunachal. So the records are never clear. Unfortunately, Jawaharlal Nehru, before handing over Tibet to China, should have said, first agree to the border, then only we'll hand over Tibet to you, or allow you to take over Tibet. But that we did not do. So the problem is our inability to understand the mind of China. We think that if they speak nicely, then they are going to be nice to us. Prime Minister Modi had interacted with Xi Jinping 18 times alone. Sometimes in Beijing, sometimes in Ahmedabad, sometimes in Mahabalipuram near Chennai. And he had no idea that this man one day will order his troops to attack us. So you have to understand China's mind. And for that, we need a large number of scholars who know Chinese language, who know Chinese history, and see how they regard us. They, on one hand, show a lot of superiority complex about us. At the same time, internally, they know our history, that we dominated China. We went to Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Cambodia, Vietnam. They all were, had accepted our culture. Even China accepted their own great scholar Hu Shi said. So we must now prepare our economy to become very strong. And we should spend large amounts on military. We should interact with those countries which are similar thinking. United States is a democratic country, but it has interests. It was in Afghanistan and they were getting tired. They wanted us to send troops to Afghanistan and take the place of the American troops. And they said, we will give you any weapon you want free of charge. But we said, no, we don't send troops outside our country. So now America is relying on Pakistan to help them in Afghanistan. So we need also a new national security doctrine, international, how to deal with it. That's why I'm glad you had a session on Baluchistan. Because in my opinion, last time after the Bangladesh war, we made Pakistan into two. Now we are in a position to make the remaining Pakistan, which I call as Pakistan, Baki, jo Baki hai, Pakistan into four. Baluchistan, Pakistan, Sindh, and Western Punjab. These four, Pakistan can be broken up. And so we must, instead of thinking of big things like, Hong Kong and Taiwan and Manchuria and so on, we should think of our neighborhood and secure it. And one of the ways to secure it is to carry out division of Pakistan. If Pakistan can send terrorists into India, we have every right to retaliate by liberating country. Baluchistan was never part of Pakistan. It was forcibly taken over by Pakistan after 1947. And we didn't do anything about it. And we must get back Kashmir. We have started the process by removing Article 370 and then POK that we'll do. And then, of course, so there's nothing wrong with China, except that China has a superiority complex about us. 1962, they defeated us. They think they can do it again. We have to, therefore, remove this from their mind by giving them a big defeat, by making them leave the portions which they have now occupied in Ladakh. That is the way to proceed. And we must know their culture. We must know their language. We must know their history. Then only we can fight them. Just, vague instance, the Chinese are inscrutable people. We don't understand them. You must learn to understand them. They are people who can be our friends. They were friends for 2,500 years. Never a single. Whole of Europe was fighting every year. Either France with Germany, Germany with Norway, like that. But not India and China. So what has gone wrong? It is our lack of understanding of the new China headed by a communist party. And we must make sure that they understand our power and we must demonstrate it. That is the way to rectify what is wrong with China, but more is important to know what is right with India before we can deal with what is wrong with China.
Thank you, Dr. Swami, for this insightful talk. Also, guys, anyone who's interested in China, learning Chinese, now we know where probably our future job lies, which is more helpful now. So, Swamiji has even given us job prospects in like 10 minutes. Thank you, Swamiji. So, before we get to the declaration of the results, I would like to announce the EB because we did take their names, but we didn't see them on screen. So we wouldn't have accomplished the 2 days without the chairing of the executive board of the committees. Hence, I request the executive board to switch on your cameras so Swamiji can see you and I can introduce the chairs and the vice chairs. So if any of the chairs and the vice chairs are here, please switch on your cameras. I'll just be reading your names out. United Nations Security Council, we had Chair Razol Porewal and Co-Chair Shivansh Bagadia with Preeti Upala ma'am as the Honorary Chair. For United Nations Human Rights Council, we had Chair Anirudh Bharadwaj, Co-Chair Harinur Jha, Advisor Pratik Irpadgire with Priyanka Dev ma'am as the Honorary Chair. For Lok Sabha, we had Speaker Akshat Trivedi and Deputy Speaker Yamika Khanna with Rahul Chaudhary ji as the Honorary Chair. For War Cabinet, we had Chair Pradyum Malpani, Advisor Drishti, with Honorary Chair Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha ji. Also, for the committees and structural recommendations, I thank Arnab Bansali. Now, to the moment we are all waiting for, that is the announcement of the results. After 2 days of hard work, extensive research, and enriching discussions, it is now time to appreciate the delegates that have worked or done exceptionally well in the committees. I would like to call upon Ganesh Surarao ji, our national in charge of Think India, to declare the results and share with us the outcome of the committee. Ganesh ji, over to you.
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
Thank
we can hear you.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Basically, मॉडल यूनाइटेड नेशंस थिंक इंडिया के माध्यम से करने का ये जो एक प्रयास है वो इसी के कारण है कि बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि जो हम सोचते हैं कि एक इंटेलेक्चुअल कैपेसिटी हमारे लोगों में एक तैयार कर रहे हैं, एक डिबेटिंग कल्चर हमारे बीच में तैयार हो, और ये नेशनल इंटरेस्ट के कुछ विषय और इंटरनेशनल इंटरेस्ट के विषय हमें लेना चाहिए। इसलिए इन सारे विषयों को यहाँ पर लिया गया और बहुत अच्छा डिस्कशन हुआ है। बहुत बार जब हम सोचते हैं, देखते हैं कि ऐसे विषयों के ऊपर होते हैं ये सारे विषय, तो कभी-कभी लगता है ये हम इस चीज के ऊपर हमें ध्यान देना चाहिए या नेशनल इंटरेस्ट के इश्यूज के ऊपर ध्यान देना चाहिए। So that Think India has taken this initiative, and Think India has previously also actually organized one debate competition and a youth parliament, and in that actually youth parliament हमने एक जो विषय लिया कि रिनेमिंग इंडिया एज भारत, ये इसके ऊपर भी लोग एक डिस्कशन, बहुत बड़ा डिस्कशन हुआ, 3 दिन डिस्कशन हुआ और उसमें रिनेमिंग इंडिया एज भारत इसके ऊपर बिल भी थिंक इंडिया के माध्यम से प्रिपेयर किया गया, सो दैट रिक्लेमिंग अवर ओन हिस्ट्री, जैसे सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी सर ने कहा कि व्हाट इज राइट विथ अस, उसके ऊपर हमें जो ध्यान देना चाहिए, उसके ऊपर भी हमें एक्चुअली हम इसलिए थिंक इंडिया काम कर रहा है बेसिकली। तो ज्यादा समय न लेते हुए मैं रिजल्ट्स अनाउंस करता हूं। यूनाइटेड नेशंस सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल के जो बेस्ट डेलीगेट है वो है यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका, आपको बधाई। हाई कमेंडेशन पीपल्स रिपब्लिक ऑफ चाइना, एंड थर्ड वर्बल मेंशन श्रीलंका, इंडोनेशिया, इन्होंने बहुत अच्छा डिस्कशन डिबेट किया है, इनको बहुत बहुत बधाई। जो वॉर कैबिनेट में थे और जिनको बेस्ट डेलीगेट प्राइज मिला है वो है डिफेंस मिनिस्टर। हाई कमेंडेशन जिनको मिला है वो है होम सेक्रेटरी एंड कैबिनेट सेक्रेटरी, बहुत बड़ा रोल इन्होंने प्ले किया है। एंड थर्ड वर्बल मेंशन है होम मिनिस्टर सर का। थैंक यू, बहुत बहुत बधाई सबको। और यूएनएचआरसी में जो बिल पास जो डिस्कशन हुआ उसके बेस्ट डेलीगेट जो विनर है, द डेलीगेट ऑफ इंडिया। हाई कमेंडेशन प्राइज जो जाता है वो द डेलीगेट ऑफ चाइना। एंड द वर्बल अप्रिसिएशन जो है बहुत अच्छा, जिन्होंने इस ओवरऑल डिस्कशन में पार्ट लिया है, of Taiwan, the delegate of Brazil, the delegate of Spain, the delegate of Tibet। ये इन चारों ने बहुत अच्छा इसमें डिस्कशन में पार्टिसिपेट किया, बहुत बहुत बधाई। और जो लोकसभा के जो रिजल्ट्स हैं वो मैं अनाउंस करता हूँ। बेस्ट पार्लियामेंटेरियन निर्मला सीतारमन एंड अधीर रंजन चौधरी। हाई कमेंडेशन प्राइजेस जिनको मिला है वो है इंदिरा हांग सुब्बा एंड रमेश पोखरियाल निशंक, इनको मिला है। एंड वर्बल मेंशन जाता है भगवंत मान एंड सुदीप बंडोपाध्याय। आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई है। और थिंक इंडिया के माध्यम से हम बहुत सारे इश्यूज के ऊपर हम आने वाले समय में काम करेंगे, देश को नई दिशा देंगे। और मैं ये मानता हूँ, जैसे एक व्यक्ति भी है ना, पूरे देश का जो नैरेटिव है चेंज करने के लिए काम कर सकता है। एक व्यक्ति भी पूरी दुनिया को चेंज करने की ताकत रखता है। पर अपने आप को जानिए, खुद को जानिए और मेहनत कीजिए। यू कैन चेंज द वर्ल्ड। इतनी क्षमता, जैसे स्वामी जी कहते हैं ना, बी एंड मेक। अगर इस प्रोसेस से अगर हम जाएंगे तो हम जरूर, हम जो भारत की जो परंपरा है उसको हम जरूर, हम पूरे देश, पूरे विश्व को एक शांति का संदेश, और शांति का संदेश वही दे सकता है जो मजबूत हो, जिसके पास मिलिट्री पावर हो, जिसके पास क्षमता हो, जिसके पास ताकत हो, उसी का ही मानते हैं। अगर कमजोर व्यक्ति कोई शांति का संदेश देता है तो वो बोलता है कि ये तो कमजोर है इसलिए शांति का संदेश दे रहा है। जब जब कोई मजबूत होता है और वो शांति का संदेश जब देता है तब सारे लोग सुनते हैं। महावीर की बात क्यों सुनते हैं लोग? क्योंकि महावीर जो थे वो सबसे महावीर थे। उनके पास बहुत क्षमता थी, ताकत थी, इसलिए उनको नमन है। कमजोर व्यक्ति को कभी नमन नहीं किया जाता। इसलिए भारत को हमें मजबूत बनाना है, आगे बढ़ाना है और विश्व गुरु बनाना है। इसी एक दो शब्दों के साथ मैं आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं। और सुब्रमण्य स्वामी सर आए यहाँ पर, और आप हमेशा ही थिंक इंडिया के प्लेटफॉर्म पर आते हैं और विद्यार्थियों का मार्गदर्शन करते हैं। हमें आपकी बहुत अच्छे अच्छे आइडियाज शेयर करते हैं। इसके बारे में हमें बहुत अच्छा लगता है। ये आपको फिर हम बुलाएंगे, आप फिर से हमारे विद्यार्थी कार्यकर्ताओं के साथ बार बार मिलिए, जुलिए। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू सर।
धन्यवाद।
Thank you,
अवश्य।
Ganesh ji. Yes. Thank you, Ganesh ji, for those encouraging words. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the organizing committee of the Think India Model United Nations, and I request them to switch on their cameras. Delegate Affairs, Mansi Desai and Asha Singh. Secretariat, Pradyum Malpani, Rugved Upadhyay. Content and International Press, Brunmay, Chitre, Garima Trivedi, and Ananya. I thank you all here, and I thank Subramaniam Swamiji. As Ganesh ji said, you're always here with us. It's very encouraging to see you, and it really gives us the inspiration to go forward with what we believe in. Because for youth like us, I think you've made it possible for us to actually connect with you, and I don't know how to thank you enough, but really, thank you. So, as I said, this experience has definitely inspired the leader within us. We hope that we all keep on following the path of righteousness, keep on seeking excellence in whatever we do, and keep on contributing towards nation building. I thank you all. Thank you all for looking at this valedictory ceremony, and see you soon. See you soon, everyone. Thank you.
Good. See you.
See you, sir.
Good.